Honey Badger don't care. Honey Badger don't give a just takes what it wants.
Greetings, fellow mortals. Just a reminder, saying it's just my opinion is for cowards. I can't imagine being afraid of what people say on the internet. Oh, and spoilers for the first half of One Piece here, by the way. Now, the live-action One Piece did many things right, but one thing that I didn't care for were the changes to Luffy. In the manga and anime, he doesn't know or care about Nami's backstory. This is important to his character. There was never a point where he thought little of Nami or believed that she betrayed him in any way possible. He had total faith in Nami. Knowing her backstory wouldn't have affected him at all. It would have changed nothing about his perspective on his navigator. Instead, all he did after arriving at her village was wait for her to ask him for help. Because unlike the audience, Luffy is already invested in the people around him. Most of the time, he doesn't know people's abilities before even asking them to join his crew. He evaluates them as people first. You see a sparkle in his eye when he identifies that this is a person that he likes. How they act now is most important to him. He doesn't view people on what they can contribute. He couldn't care less about someone's backstory. He cares about what's happening right now and in the future. In that way, he's very different from the audience.
And you are not our most valuable asset.
One thing that you have to remember is that there is a difference in investment between the characters and the audience watching those characters. The fictional world is actually these people's home. The people around them are real. This is kind of like how pirates care about the treasure, but that really doesn't matter to us. For Luffy, he does not need to know someone's backstory to care about them. Instead, he cares about what type of person they are first and foremost. If their backstories are sad and they act like jackasses, Luffy will dislike them no matter what. To him, the past doesn't give anyone an excuse for acting badly now. Not to say that Luffy doesn't hold grudges from the past. His continued distaste for Crocodile is still the same no matter how much time goes by. But that's his own experiences with his own friends because he knows that Vivi would not forgive Crocodile. What I'm saying is that his investment is different than the audience's. Because a story isn't real, it has to work harder to get us, the real life audience, to care. There's a difference between hearing about a fictional tornado and an actual tornado just a few towns away from you. We need more of a buy-in with something that is not real, otherwise we won't feel as much. The same cannot be said for Luffy because this is his world. Unless there is an animal involved, then Luffy kind of does need to hear the backstory so he doesn't view the creature as food. There is a continued pattern of Luffy not needing to know the full history of an island, a kingdom, or even individual people in order to care about them. While Luffy is dumb, he's surprisingly intuitive in what he needs to do to fix the problem. He doesn't need the backstory because he just gets it automatically. Luffy understands people in a surprisingly in-depth way. Granted, most of the things in One Piece are pretty black and white. There aren't many arcs where there are tons of shades of gray going around, where Luffy is not automatically the hero doing the right thing. Okay, there is the Marineford arc. Most of the people Luffy gets in fights with in that one aren't necessarily bad or immoral. In fact, most of them are actually trying to punish others that they view as bad. The heads of the Marines can't be called the greatest people ever, but I wouldn't say that many of the individual fighters are evil pieces of scum. It's one of the many reasons that that arc in particular stands out among all the others. Not to say that something like the Wano arc doesn't stand up on its own, but the fact that Marineford is the one time where Luffy stumbles in his convictions makes it super important to the story.
How could this happen to me?
If you think about it, the story of One Piece would be very different if we only saw what Luffy saw. We would miss a lot of context from the backstories. We, as the audience, would feel frustrated. The battles would not mean as much just because we don't have the context and the backstory of why it's important. Oda understands that fact. It's why he shows us what he does. He is the king of the sad backstories, but Luffy does not care about any of this. He denies the chance to know anything about what's going on around him, often walking off or sleeping when a backstory is revealed, or in some cases, he makes fun of people if their misfortune is the product of their own choices. This is an important aspect of Luffy's personality. He sees how things are now, not how they used to be. Nothing about the past will change how things are right now and what needs to be done to fix the bad situation. This is extremely interesting considering One Piece's themes around respecting history and that forgetting the past is dangerous. I feel there are a lot of different ways to analyze this. Is it a commentary on real world issues? Is it pointing out how Oda's audience is super invested in discovering the secrets of his world? Is it just saying that Luffy is so good that he doesn't need all of the context to know when something bad is going on? His gut instincts and his heart pushes him in the right direction. That's not something that can be said for even the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates all the time. Each of them were delayed or stuck before Luffy found them.
Really makes you think.
Normally, my wife gets super annoyed with dumb characters. She finds them to be annoying or frustrating, but Luffy was charming to her from the start. In fact, many people feel that way, both in the real world and in the fictional world. One of the reasons for this is how consistent his goodness is. Now, Luffy isn't a perfect person. He's a glutton, he's selfish with food, and he's pretty dumb most of the time, but his genuineness shines through no matter what the situation is. Even from the start, he gives tough love to Kobe when needed. His relationships with each new person is oddly what that character needs to grow into a better version of themselves. Luffy's understanding of what people need and what needs to be done to fight injustice on an instinctual level endears us to him, even if we don't understand it at first. Brook, Robin, and Sanji's backstories make us appreciate them more, but it doesn't change a single thing about how Luffy views them. There's no way to change the terrible things that happened in the past, so there's no point in dwelling on them. Instead, Luffy understands the importance of fighting now to keep them from happening again. You need to fight now in order to overcome what happened then. You need to keep pushing forward. Not to say that Luffy is a philosopher or anything. It's the meaning Oda puts behind Luffy, who is a character who works on gut feelings. Something that could be yet another commentary on what justice really is. In many ways, Luffy is childlike, but he knows when things are wrong. So perhaps we're the ones making things too complicated in the real world. But maybe that's just me reaching a little bit here.
No, I didn't mean it. I didn't.
Or maybe I'm not. Don't forget, Oda says that he's willing to die for One Piece. He's been obsessing over it for almost 30 years. I don't doubt that he dreams about it. So his choices in this matter might be as intentional as I'm reading into it. Or I'm following into the trap of just listen to the song. Great one-shot, by the way. You need to go read it. It's by the guy that makes Chainsaw Man. But anyways, maybe Oda just thinks that all of this is funny if Luffy doesn't know or care about what's actually going on around him. That is entirely possible too. Either way, it feels wrong for him to want to know the details of a backstory. Luffy doesn't care. It does not matter to him. He is in the moment waiting for his friends to ask him for help, to admit that the problem needs to be taken care of so that they can truly live now. He's a guy who views people based on who seems nice to him. It's not like he's always right. We all know Luffy's soft spot is if people feed him. He could very well be tricked by someone evil if they give him a buffet of meat. After all, a hero is someone who shares his food.
Because it's the hero Gotham deserves, but not the one it needs right now.
This is just one small aspect to Luffy's character. There are plenty of other reasons why he's so charming and lovable. He is a static character who has been constantly at the top of the popularity poll no matter what. There is a reason for this. There's a reason that everyone with actual good taste loves Monkey D. Luffy. And with the popularity of the live action show, even more people will get to know how amazing of a protagonist he is. You're welcome to disagree with me. That's fine. After all, everyone is entitled to their objectively wrong opinion.
I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong.
please consider giving me a like and subscribing. It would really help me out. And hey, do you like stories about an interconnected world? Then consider giving my LP Seal books a try. They are all connected in some way, but you can jump in at any point, unless it's a series. Then you have to start at the beginning. But I got 3 books out right now and 3 coming next year. You will not have to wait long for content. Either way, thank you. I appreciate you. Do not despair.